The following is a presentation of TFNN. Time to talk about your health. Living a primal lifestyle.
You know, we have Tom from Tampa on the phone. Hey, Tom. Good morning. It's bright and early now, huh?
Hey, Paige. Good.
Hi, Tom.
How you guys doing, Nico?
Doing great.
Good. Hey, your newsletter's outstanding, man. I'm telling you, man, it is outstanding. And so is the Primal. I love that stuff. I'd never be without it. I mean, I've been on it now 34 months, man. I mean, it's just, I can't get over how good I feel.
Primal Edge is, people are raving about it. People who are trying it, they know because you can feel it.
Would not be without it.
Call now, toll free at 1-877-927-6648. Internationally at 727-445-1044. Now your hosts, Nico Haan and Paige Clarke.
Good morning. I'm Nico Haan. Welcome to Living a Primal Lifestyle, where we explore a return to a more balanced, natural, wild world.
To recover our natural health, our rights, and our freedoms. And good morning, I'm Paige Clarke.
And it's a beautiful morning here in downtown Clearwater, 73 degrees, and you feel that dry air coming in.
I'm heading out of town for a couple days.
Yeah, I know.
But it's supposed to, I was thinking I was going to pack all kinds of warm weather going up to Kentucky for some business, but it's going to be 80 degrees up there.
Really?
so it's not like a good escape yet.
Yeah, that's true. Well, if you can have any comments or questions for the show or suggestions, please, you can write me at nico@tfnn.com.
And me at Paige at tfnn.com. And we're taking your questions at 877-927-6648.
So I wanted to mention that my new Health Signals newsletter is out today.
And this is the one we've been waiting on.
Yes, this is the marijuana one. It's all full of marijuana. We may have a chance to go over some of this. But basically, I wanted to start off with this one thing, the magic of fermented foods.
I think our whole show, we're going to really kind of structure it around how to get yourself in and out of that pickle.
I like that.
And actually,
yeah.
Maybe we really need to understand a lot more about the power and the magic of fermented
Well,
foods.
most of us are familiar with the concept of how important it is to have our planet as a balanced ecosystem. We often talk about what's happening in the world. We need to make sure that the Earth is sustaining balanced, great life for us and for the animals and the flora.
Absolutely.
So that's, and just like our planet, we need to do the same thing to our bodies. And you always say, so above and so below. And
inside and outside.
Inside and outside. The way the soil is the way our stomachs are, things like that. So it's important that we aren't at risk for these different things. And we see evidence by tremendous increase of different diseases, especially infectious diseases, degenerative conditions, and autoimmune disorders. Things.
And it's affecting adults and children alike, folks. Here's some significant points. The tremendous increases in cases of autism affecting over 1 million American children in the past 5 years and more, and even England, Australia, and Canada. In California, 1 out of every 125 children is born autistic. And as we know, vaccines have been largely blamed for this increase, but it's what is the straw that broke the camel's back? Well, and the problem really begins even before birth.
Yeah.
And that has a lot to do with the condition or the gut of the mother.
Yeah, and we're talking about diseases like cancer, Alzheimer's, heart disease, diabetes, osteoporosis, allergies, chronic fatigue, candidiasis, fibromyalgia, depression, and then all these things that you just talked about. Like you said, in California, 125 out of every 125 children, one of them is autistic.
Well, actually, it's even worse than that. I think the statistic has come to be about 1 out of every 55 boys.
Wow. So it's growing. And
because we know a lot of that has to do with how the testosterone is actually impacted by all these things. But it's multifactorial for sure, folks. But why? Why? The question is, why are these problems unique to modern society? And what did our ancestors know that enabled them to live their lives free of a lot of these ailments that didn't even exist?
Yeah.
And it may actually lie, the answer may lie in that inner world struggling to survive inside of us.
Yes, because before birth, a baby grows in a sterile environment of the mother's womb. And just before delivery, the mother's cervix dilates about 2 centimeters, which allows the bacteria from the birth canal to enter the
amniotic fluid
in the womb. And the baby drinks this fluid, and it gets gets this bacteria in its stomach. So important to go through the birth canal and not have a cesarean. If you have a cesarean, then the baby is a little bit behind.
That is very true. A healthy mother's birth canal is filled with beneficial bacteria, and these are the lactobacillus and the bifidus. And when you do have a cesarean birth, and you know, we don't want anyone to feel bad because, you know, I had 2 children vaginally, and my last one was breech, and of course, I was encouraged to have Austin with a C-section, and you know, there can be life-threatening issues now. Yeah. So we want, and I think a lot of mothers feel guilty now that they know this. I mean, they feel so terrible, but a lot of it has to do with the medical complex. You know, the doctors really don't want to be waiting there that long, and they can speed things up with a C-section, which is kind of disgusting in my thought. But I think a lot of C-sections are unnecessary.
And the next step, of course, once the baby is born, if it's nursed, then the breast milk is secreted with this compound called colostrum. Colostrum.
Yeah.
And this further enhances the immunity.
It absolutely does, and I think so. It's so important to get that firstborn fluid from the breast to the baby, even when there doesn't appear to be any milk, because milk doesn't come in for a couple days. The baby is actually getting that colostrum.
So the first couple of days are really essential to do that.
So crucial, you know. It's actually, it says for the first 6 hours, the colostrum that is produced contains no sugar, but then the baby's gut seals up and the colostrum becomes sweet with sugar. The sugar feeds the microflora and causes a bed of mucus to form on the lining of the intestines, which allows the beneficial microflora to adhere to it. As the baby continues to nurse, he develops a fully functioning ecosystem which establishes a healthy immune system.
And this is the way nature vaccinates your children. This is the way nature does it.
This is the way nature builds our immune systems and creates... I was reading an article the other day, and they were talking about... I don't even like the way they call it immunization. You know, people say, well, how many parents are denying their children immunization? This is immunization.
The first
Mother
steps.
Nature takes care of immunization. Vaccination and immunization, I'm afraid, are not the same thing. It kind of irks me.
I wonder what the percentage is, how many people in the Western world are actually getting the cesarean instead of the natural birth. And I imagine in the old world still, I mean, that isn't really the option as much.
I just look at this in this article. It says currently, because of the presence of pathogenic bacteria in the mother's birth canal, which may or may not cause a problem, doctors are recommending that mothers be hooked up to an antibiotic IV drip as soon as they begin labor.
Wow.
I have never heard of that.
Yeah, and since antibiotics do not discriminate between harmful and beneficial bacteria, this practically...
This is actually going to destroy the baby's fragile ecosystem and young immune system, as we just discussed. This is, you know, you wonder, where do they come up with this stuff?
Well, like you said earlier, it could be a time restraint. I mean, the doctor's there, getting ready for the delivery, and all of a sudden the whole process stops, and maybe you're there 4, 5, 6 hours waiting.
That's why I think the return to midwifery, which is midwives, is really the way, you know, we're going to see healthier births.
It's always astonishing me that the money always comes before the health in our society.
It's very sad. It really is.
I mean, that's astounding, really.
You know, so in an ideal world, as the child grows, he would be fed foods that are rich in probiotics, which would continue to protect him from the harmful pathogens normally encountered in daily life. These foods are largely missing from the modern American diet. So we're going to spend the show today talking a lot more about probiotics, fermented foods. How do we give that food to our gut so we can be healthy? We'll be right back.
And take time to pick up our Health Signals newsletter all about marijuana this trip, and also pick up our Healthy Image...
This trip.
This trip. Primal Edge. Pick that up, please. You know what's cool? Taking something that's good for you. Something specifically formulated to help with weight loss, better sleep, stress reduction, and the need to detox.
Nico, our hunter and gatherer ancestors found all their nutritional requirements for health in their wild environment. But today, our food sources no longer contain the vitamins, minerals, and nutrients our bodies need to stay healthy and strong.
That's why we need Primal Edge Daily Nutrition. It includes a special blend of ionic, soil-based vitamins, minerals, fatty, and amino acids in an easy-to-use liquid form.
Primal Edge is powered by highly concentrated fulvic and humic acids, nature's preferred delivery system. They have been called miracle molecules because, like sunlight, air, and water, life cannot exist without them.
That's right, Paige. They ensure we receive all the nutrition we need to be healthy and thrive. We take it every morning.
Primal Edge, formulated and approved by Nico and Paige of Living a Primal Lifestyle. Buy it today for just $89. Click on the Primal Edge banner on the front page of TFNN.com. Platinum, grains, crude oil, gold, copper, cattle, hogs, gasoline, natural gas, coffee, cotton, cocoa, and sugar. These are just some of the commodities mentioned in the most recent issue of Andy Hecht's Techno-Mental Commodity Report. Andy publishes his weekly newsletter every Thursday morning, where he breaks down the commodity market and provides his subscribers with specific trading recommendations based on his trading methodology. By signing up for a free trial to the Techno-Mental Commodity Report, you'll get a full 30 days to try out this powerful newsletter service and see for yourself the types of trades Andy has recommended for his subscribers. When you sign up for a 30-day free trial, you're under no obligation to pay anything. And should you decide to continue, you will lock in the low rate of only $79 a month. Sign up right now for the Techno-Mental Commodity Report and make sure you're ready to catch the next big trade in commodities. For more information and to get started today, visit the front page of TFNN.com.
Are China A-shares hot or not? If you trade China A-shares, now may be time to take a closer look. Trade CHAU or CHAD, Directions Daily CSI 300 China A-share Bull and Bear ETFs. China A-shares in either direction. Visit directioninvestments.com today. An investor should consider the investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses of the Direction shares carefully before investing. The prospectus and summary prospectus contain this and other information about Direction shares. To obtain a prospectus or summary prospectus, please contact Direction shares at 866-476-7523. The prospectus or summary prospectus should be read carefully before investing. An investment in the funds is subject to risk, including the possible loss of principal. The funds are designed to be utilized only by sophisticated investors such as traders and active investors. Distributor Foreside Fund Services, LLC.
Nico and Paige take your phone calls now. Toll free at 1-877-927-6648. Internationally at 727-445-1044.
Welcome back to Living a Primal Lifestyle. We're talking about the power of fermented foods for our health and for the health of our ecology inside and out. One of the great books, resource, if you really want to learn a lot about this, is Donna Gates' book, The Body Ecology Diet. She's really a pioneer in the nutritional field. And she refers to these microflora as alchemists, which is my thing. Yeah, I call them alchemic geniuses, and highly intelligent beings that communicate at all times with our enteric nervous system located in the intestines and commonly referred to as the second brain. We now know that the gut and the brain are really the first and second brain. They work together to produce the neuropeptides, neurochemicals we need to stay healthy, mentally and physically.
Yeah, recent scientific research has discovered that the same receptor sites for neuropeptides and other brain chemicals that exist in the brain are also present in our gut. That kind of relates to the thing, I got this gut feeling.
Yeah,
you feel it in your gut, but it's really the brain that's talking.
Right. Not only that, they help to break down our food so we can digest it. I often talk about being able to disinfect food and digest it. Right. And it actually produces all the B vitamins. That's why pro-fermented B vitamins is really great. You know, the Premier's Max B. Wanted to get that into the Primal Edge. That's a whole art in itself. They also produce vitamin K. And the short-chain fatty acids that are essential for immune and nervous system functioning. They help to alkalize our blood, pulling minerals out of the food that we need. They're just super workers. And they eat excess sugars from our diet so they don't harm us and effectively help eliminate sugar cravings when they're in balance.
Yeah, and here we're dumping sugar in us as a modern society.
As our modern society sure does. And, you know, prebiotics can be fibers and starches and some sugar for your microbiota, but it's this excessive onslaught that we were never meant to do. It throws the things out of balance.
If we don't set up our body right, then we get this onslaught, and our body is really overworked, and then it's not only doesn't not provide us with the correct flora, it also is fighting things.
Exactly.
So it's kind of stalling there.
This is a really key point that's in this article I want to share with you because you all that have listened understand this was our reason for using the fulvic acids. They work as a substrate. They work with the microbiota in our body. That's why we chose it. Listen to this. If we are deficient in a particular mineral, such as calcium, the microflora can change other minerals, such as silica, into the calcium we need. Again, that comment, our biota are actually alchemic geniuses. They can even transform harmful substances such as the toxic byproducts of undigested proteins, chemicals and heavy metals into substances that the body can use. And, there you go. I just think that's why we need to understand that we need to help this community in our guts flourish for our own health and well-being.
Yeah, because without this, really, we're setting ourselves up to become toxic human beings.
Depressed, emotionally.
Yeah, and in her book, and this is an old book that you pointed out to me earlier. It's not a recent book, but she already had felt
great book.
That
she was ahead of her time.
Yeah, she said that autism was really a gut-brain disorder.
Absolutely.
So the messaging between our gut and our brain is kind of short-circuited. That's the way she sees it. And she has a...
her protocol has been used very successfully in helping people...
Bedrock diet?
Which is the body ecology diet for our kids. Little acronym,
kids,
And so, again, it's the institution of healthy fats and fermented foods and things that we can digest and absorb.
Yeah.
So it's really great.
Yeah, and one of the things she mentions, too, in order that to do this, we only have to look at the way our ancestors ate and prepared foods. Traditional cultures from all around the world all incorporated probiotic rich foods into their diets. Before modern technology gave us refrigeration, and even in underdeveloped countries today, the only way to preserve food was to ferment it. In different ways.
Kombucha was actually medieval soda pop, everybody,
Right.
I mean, fermented teas and so forth were the way that they got that flavor.
Yeah. And we often mention that to go to the Weston A. Price site.
Right.
And, get the book on Nourishing Traditions.
Well,
by
Sally Fallon
Yeah.
is the head of the Weston A. Price, and her book, Nourishing Traditions, is a cookbook that everybody should own because it's an educational cookbook.
Yeah.
It gives you these old time-tested recipes.
Should be used in colleges and universities and high schools, really.
Because it really gives you the information about the healing benefits of ancient foods, and it kind of inspires you to start using this in your everyday cooking. I gave both of those cookbooks to my daughters for Christmas.
Nice.
Now they're going to get a different cookbook this year.
Yeah.
I always find them ones that teach them.
You're a good mom.
Well, the thing about it is we can, if we really look at these, this is a way of transitioning the knowledge. I'm very concerned that many of today's generation doesn't really understand what real food is or cooking, and that's no fault of theirs, really.
No, it isn't. And, everything is hidden because our fast food industry and our modern food industry kind of hides the way food affects us. We often talk about that we need the animal food, we need the healthy fats, animals that are eating the right diet. But then on the other side, we do need the greens, we need the flora, but we need it from organic things, but that's not the only step. The other step is that we need to ferment, we need to pickle, we need to let these things sit for a while so the toxins that are in there are abated, that we're getting healthy food because it's fermented.
And it's really much easier than you think to start making fermented vegetables, and it can be quite beautiful. I noticed the picture you've got as these two lovely women in front of their big jars of a variety of colorful vegetables that they are fermenting in their big jars, and it's really as easy as using a little bit of a culture starter or a little bit of cultured whey from the top of, when you buy your Greek yogurt and that liquid is on the top. That's very precious. Pour that off and use it to start your own fermentation of your vegetables.
Yeah, and this is
easy.
actually a school that teaches fermentation. It's in the Ozarks, and they have a whole workshop, a day-long workshop where they discuss and taste all sorts of fermented foods and beverages and homemade yogurts.
Kefirs, yogurts, kombucha, and miso. Miso is a form of soy that is actually a fermentation.
Yeah.
I always say soy is not a toy for the girl or the boy because the majority of the soy today in this country is GMO. It's contrary to what people think. And I cringe when I see, women going into the grocery store buying soy milk by the cartons and avoiding other types because they somehow or another believe that soy is beneficial for
Of course, many
menopause and
baby
everything.
formulas and things like that are made
It's
from
been
soy.
horrific.
Yeah.
And if you take a look at our young boys, that many of them have
Bigger breasts?
Yeah, the bigger breast. I drew a blank on the word, but the soy is responsible. Soy interferes with thyroid function. The soy encourages estrogen production. There are two types of soy that can be healthful, and that's fermented soy, which is miso or tempeh. So I always say, soy is not a toy for the girl or the boy, but miso and tempeh are okay.
Yeah.
So if you can remember that rhyme.
Yeah, and the soy sauce that you get at the normal grocery store, it's tamari is what
Tamari is fermented.
Is fermented, and it's from traditional macrobiotic diet. That's one of the real good things. This is real interesting because, of course, they've got this workshop at this school in the Ozarks, but if you go to your local health food store, I bet you in a month or two they'll have some kind of classes on fermenting. So if you really want to get into this, you go to your local food store.
You can learn to make them yourself. They're relatively inexpensive. If you buy them in the grocery store, they're a little bit more expensive. But folks, historically, the American Indians pounded vegetables and put them in the vessels below the ground, let them stay there for months or even years. Not to be feared. Our today's modern canned vegetables are not the powerhouse that you can generate by using fermentation. So stay tuned. Let's learn a little bit more about this. We'll be right back after the break.
Indeed, we will.
You've heard Nico de Haan as co-host of Living a Primal Lifestyle, which airs every Friday at noon Eastern Time on TFNN, and would like to tell you about the personal training studio that Nico is the owner and president of, Performance Training. Since 1998, Nico has trained individuals and groups to improve their health both mentally and physically. As a certified personal trainer, Nico's main focus is on demonstrating exercises correctly to avoid injury and teaching his clients how to manage their past injuries while getting the most out of their personal training sessions. The Performance Training Studio is filled with unique training equipment that enhances balanced results at a faster rate while minimizing damage and discomfort. For more information, you can give Nico a call at 727-418-8740 or email him at nico@tfnn.com. Let him know you heard him on TFNN and save up to $100 on a special package just for TFNN listeners. Act today.
Tiger TV is an exciting way to experience TFNN programming. See high-definition video, giving you crystal clear charts, as well as seeing some of the faces of TFNN's highly acclaimed financial experts with crisp, full-fidelity sound. Catch Tom O'Brien, John Logan, Steve Rhodes, Basil Chapman, Larry Pesavento, Think or Swim, David White, Andy Hecht, and Daryl Martin in crystal clear, high-definition audio and video. Tiger TV, exclusively at TFNN.com.
Has the current market volatility continued to stop you out of trades when the market spikes against you? Now is the perfect time to open up an account with Nadex. Nadex, the North American Derivatives Exchange, is a brand new, completely regulated Chicago-based exchange, and unlike most other exchanges, Nadex allows you to trade directly through them with direct market access when using their completely free trading platform, which also features real-time charts and full customization capability. One of the advantages of trading with Nadex in volatile markets is that your risk is always capped and you have the ability of keeping your trades open even when the market spikes against you. Nadex is completely brand new with a line of unique trading products that are unavailable anywhere else. See how it works at nadex.com. That's NADEX.com. Or click on the Nadex banner on the front page of TFNN.com. Futures and options trading involves risk and may not be appropriate for all investors.
Many of our new listeners have heard about the Tiger's Den, but wondered, what exactly is it? The Tiger's Den is a lively community where professional traders and investors can meet, exchange ideas and information in a comfortable, moderated atmosphere. Hear all of your favorite TFNN shows, plus see all the charts as they happen live during those shows and have access to all those charts. You can test drive the Tiger's Den absolutely free for 30 days. It will greatly enrich your knowledge of these markets. Details on the Tiger's Den are on the front page of TFNN.com. This segment is brought to you by Think or Swim. For more information, just click the Think or Swim banner on the front page of TFNN.com.
And welcome back, folks. So we're talking about, what's in our gut. And you mentioned before the break that American Indians pounded their vegetables, put them in these little vessels below the ground where they stored them for months.
Years.
Yeah, but in Holland, I remember distinctly that every week we had one meal. It was always sauerkraut and sausage.
And, whereas people would often look at sausage and all these things, say that's unhealthy, it's just not true.
Well, it depends how it's made, of course.
Yeah.
But sauerkraut is one of the most popular fermented foods. It's made from cabbage, which is known as anti-cancer properties, has high levels of vitamin C and major minerals.
Let me interject there,
Yes.
too. The doctrine of signatures. Cabbage is like a ball with multiple layers. So that kind of gives you that indication that just like our stomach lining has lots of layers of mucus, it rebuilds the stomach.
Yeah, my friend Ron, who recently passed away, was the guy that introduced me to
The macrobiotic
macrobiotics, and he always took a cabbage. He always wanted the one that was kind of squatty,
Yeah.
because it's easier to cut.
Oh,
He always had these little methods,
Yeah.
and he says the cabbage, the perfect food. You can live just off of cabbage.
yeah,
by
that's
itself.
amazing.
Pretty
And
cool.
so the ancient Romans valued sauerkraut so much for its medicinal purposes that in the 18th century, in England even, Captain Cook had
Stored
60 barrels of sauerkraut on the ships, and those were the years that they did not experience the scurvy, because it is actually high in vitamin C by way of these microbiota.
Yeah. And Captain Cook, he did this, of course, scurvy was one of the...
Well, that's how we came up with the word limeys.
Yes, that's
The
right.
sailors,
because
they realized that it was something in the lime. So Captain Cook was finding this out, but other ones found out that it was the vitamin C. But when they had limes, they didn't get the disease of the teeth, which is awful.
Now, in Russia and Poland, green tomatoes, peppers, and lettuces were favorite cultural foods. Ketchup, chocolate, coffee, tea were originally fermented
Chocolate.
foods.
Now that's interesting.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. I didn't realize ketchup even, because that's so bastardized these days. You got the corn syrup in it in the United States.
Right.
You know, go to Canada or go to Mexico, and the corn syrup's not in the...
You can find organic brands of ketchup if you are a ketchup lover, and that's really key, because the stuff that we've been conditioned to buy, the Hunt's, the Del Monte, it's all got the high fructose corn syrup in it. So, Oriental people prepared and ate cultured foods with every single meal. Maybe it's that, not the soybeans, that's kept them healthy. The Korean food kimchi is a fermented blend of cabbage, carrots, greens, onions, garlic, and ginger. It's very spicy. The Japanese eat a fermented food called umboshi, plums.
Yeah, umabushi.
Umabushi, okay.
I can correct you for the change.
there
That's
you
pretty
go.
cool. Miso, soy, natto, and tamari, of course. The Chinese government distributes cabbage to the population each fall to ferment and store for the cold winter months.
Wow, that's something.
Yeah. So unfermented soy products such as soy milk and tofu are really harmful to the health.
Which we talked about that. The Indonesians actually eat tempeh, which is the fermented soy. And it's important to note that the only soy foods that the body can actually digest and tolerate it are fermented, as we talked about on the previous break.
And kefir, you always mention
Kefir,
that. It means
which
feel
actually
good.
means feel good.
Yeah, I didn't realize that.
Dr. Marshall was telling us that the longest lived people drank a certain tea, and they drank kefir. And so think about that, folks. Kefir is a fermented dairy product originally from the region of Turkey, where it is believed Noah's Ark was discovered. Interesting. It is said that kefir was a gift from the gods, and that the gods told the Turkish people to never reveal the secret of how it was prepared. Yeah. However, legend has it that the Russians heard of the healing, rejuvenating properties of the kefir and tricked the Turks into giving them the recipe. Even today, Russian school children receive a glass of kefir daily, compliments of the government. Wish we did that with our children. Yeah. Give everyone a little probiotic. I make my own kefir. But nowadays, a lot of people are actually using kefir grains to ferment beverages that are not dairy. Yeah. I like my whole raw dairy.
And we have a great source of yogurt here at Yanni's, which is still down on Highland Road. And he's I think he's from Hungary. And he makes these great pancakes and stuff, which I don't eat anymore. And
Where is this?
toast. It's on. Well, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
People
Okay, cool.
In New Jersey, probably wouldn't care too much about that.
So creme fraiche is really cool too. It's a soured milk product that's kind of like people will usually eat berries with creme fraiche, but it is used in France and in many recipes. It's cultured butters and fermented cheeses are common throughout Europe. Yogurt is a cultured milk product. And that has some helpful microflora, but does not have the potent probiotic properties of the beneficial yeasts that are in kefir. So do understand there's really quite a quality difference between yogurt and kefir.
Yeah, and it says here that any food can be cultured during the fermentation process. Even high glycemic foods such as fruits and carrots and beets and sweet potatoes are beneficial to your microflora.
Because the microflora is going to actually eat up some of the sugar that's naturally found in these foods, rendering them less harmful to the body.
Exactly.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So one of the things I want people to understand about dairy fermentation is that the fermentation actually makes dairy easier for us to digest. It breaks down the casein, or the milk protein. It's broken down and makes it more digestible.
Yeah.
So these vital enzymes that are destroyed during pasteurization may be restored, including lactase, which enables us to digest the milk sugar. So if you are going to buy a fermented dairy product, it has been restored somewhat because the probiotic have been added to it.
In fact, Donna Gates in her book says that there's really no actual lactose intolerance. It's just because of the state of the milk.
Because we're drinking dead milk.
Yeah.
And that's a really great point, that when people say I'm lactose intolerant, what they really should say is I can't drink milk because we pasteurize it and we kill it, and there's no longer the enzyme to digest it.
Yeah, she herself was unable to drink milk for 25 years, like my wife, and she discovered how to balance her ecosystem. She now has raw and cultured dairy products on a regular basis. She believes raw butter to be an important food for the recovery of autistic children because of the content of the high-quality essential fats and the CLA and butyric acid.
Yeah, that conjugate linoleic acid, which is great not for our brains, for our health, but also for weight loss. Most people wouldn't believe you need to have like a dollop of butter.
For weight loss.
You should see how beautiful the butter is right now out of Pam. You know, Pam the dancing goat, we'll have to show a picture. In fact, if we go on a break, I took my grandson out there this weekend to pick up my stuff, and she posted a picture of him imitating a rooster. Maybe we can...
Now, she goes around to the different...
the dancing goat here in Tampa Bay, it's a fantastic little farm, husband-wife farm. Pam has goat milk. She raises chickens, duck eggs. I get duck eggs from her. And she's actually one of the stars in a new feature film called Farm Her. Farm Her.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we can see if Al can find the clip. I don't know if we can get that done or not. But if not, if you're in the Tampa Bay area, visit Pam at the Dancing Goat. She travels to different markets. A standard fixture at the world-famous St. Petersburg market, which will be opening up fall hours, fall location, next month.
Yep. On the Telestrator here, I have up the Health Signals newsletter. Experts tell you the truth about pot. A lot of articles in here telling you it turns on your body, designed to work better with cannabis. You've got
I think that
effects.
there's the different species, the sativa and the indica, which is something you were explaining to me, that there's different medicinal effects, just like we see with essential oils.
Exactly.
And that's what we're using here.
Yeah.
Plants as medicine.
U.S. government deception about marijuana, the truth be told on these things, lots of things, even some recipes in here that...
long-term effects on the brain. Folks, regardless of what your stance is, we need to understand that the cannabis plant is part of our healing system, and we have receptors in our brains meant to use it, so we need to...
use it responsibly, whatever you do. We'll be right back.
We'll be right back.
You know what's cool? Taking something that's good for you. Something specifically formulated to help with weight loss, better sleep, stress reduction, and the need to detox.
Nico, our hunter and gatherer ancestors found all their nutritional requirements for health in their wild environment. But today, our food sources no longer contain the vitamins, minerals, and nutrients our bodies need to stay healthy and strong.
That's why we need Primal Edge Daily Nutrition. It includes a special blend of ionic, soil-based vitamins, minerals, fatty, and amino acids in an easy-to-use liquid form.
Primal Edge is powered by highly concentrated fulvic and humic acids, nature's preferred delivery system. They have been called miracle molecules because, like sunlight, air, and water, life cannot exist without them.
That's right, Paige. They ensure we receive all the nutrition we need to be healthy and thrive. We take it every morning.
Primal Edge, formulated and approved by Nico and Paige of Living a Primal Lifestyle. Buy it today for just $89. Click on the Primal Edge banner on the front page of TFNN.com.
Tom O'Brien's weekly gold letter, The Gold Report, gives complete and concise coverage of the entire gold market. Inside, you'll get Tom's commentary on gold, the dollar, the rand, the bond, the XAU, the HUI, and detailed coverage of nearly 25 mining stocks. He'll give you the entry price, price target, and stop price of each stock trade. The Gold Report is a long-term newsletter where the focus is on building real wealth through the management of a successful portfolio of gold stocks. With a lifetime of knowledge and almost 12 years of writing his informative weekly newsletter, The Gold Report, Tom O'Brien can provide you with the important market information to help you make better trades in the gold market. Don't let the next bull run in gold pass you by. To get a month-long free trial to the Gold Report, an $85 value, visit the front page of TFNN.com today.
David White's newsletter, The Technology Insider, is focused like a laser on finding the next big things in technology. If you had invested only $10,000 in Microsoft in 1986, you'd have been a millionaire by 2000. Disruptive technology like Microsoft's is the key to these massive long-term profits, and the Tech Insider is the vehicle from TFNN to capitalize on these opportunities. This is the go-to newsletter that identifies, monitors, and profits on mostly little-known cutting-edge companies with great long-term prospects. David's experience is as an inventor of Emmy-winning animation products for TV and Hollywood that propelled a company public. Match that with 14 years as a full-time trader, and he's uniquely qualified to guide you through the light-speed world of ever-evolving high-tech. If you're ready to ride the next big technology bull market for less than $40 per month, log on to TFNN.com and get your 2-week free trial to the Technology Insider. Get in on the ground floor of the next big thing today.
This segment is brought to you by TFNN. Test drive all the newsletters for free at TFNN.com.
Welcome to my day.
It's a way of life that is easy to love. Get on the back of a horse and watch the sun rise and move some cows in the morning, and I wouldn't have to talk you into doing it again.
Dust beneath my skin.
Down here in Texas, you grow year-round. And growing year-round means that you can do it, but it's not going to be easy.
So I will fight for you. This land is all I needed all along the way. I will show my love, strong hands, both used to beating sun and sweat of me.
It's hard work. At the end of the day, you're tired. And I think that's a good way to be at the end of the day.
They make my day.
Okay.
So hopefully you guys got to see a little clip of the upcoming movie Farm Her, and Pam is one of the stars in that. So.
Yeah, and you can find her on Facebook, Dancing Goat
Dairy. Yes. And Albert says, goats and rain, not a good mix. Hope everything is okay there at the Dancing Goat. It was quite muddy out there.
I'll bet.
Yeah. And they've got great little chickens. She has chicken eggs and duck eggs. And, you know, I don't know if you're aware, but duck eggs really have a great nutritional profile. They're
People
very
who
rich.
are allergic to chicken eggs, the duck eggs are the answer for that, for sure. You know, there seems to be a bit of confusion going around about fermenting foods and the difference between
Pickled and fermented.
Yeah, and that's there is a difference in there. I wasn't sure what the difference is. I think it's just a matter of the fermentation goes much farther. Pickling is just the first step in the process, and pickling kind of leaves it there, where fermentation has the oxygen going into it more, and then the fermentation takes place, and that's the way I understand it. Foods that are pickled are those that have been preserved in an acid medium. In the case of various types of supermarket pickles that are on the shelf, pickling comes from vinegar.
Right.
These vinegars, vegetables, however, are not fermented, even though the vinegar itself is a byproduct of fermentation.
So here's an explanation. This is an author of The Real Food Fermentation explains that the confusion comes from the overlap in definition. Not all fermented foods are pickled.
Right.
And not all pickles are fermented. So.
And also, if you ferment your food, then you're getting the probiotics, but the pickling itself doesn't release as much of the probiotic, my understanding of it.
And I think pickles are really great just for that tart, sour taste.
Yeah.
We know from traditional medicines that we need to have salty taste, we need to have sweet, we need to have hot and spicy, we need to have bland, and we need to have salty. So I think that helps, and I think there are some benefits there. Especially if you're using the right kinds of vinegar and the right kinds of salts.
Yeah. What about alcohol fermentation? In the case of wine and unpasteurized beers, fermentation occurs as the result of certain yeast converting sugars into alcohol, but there is no pickling that takes place despite the common expression when you get drunk, you get pickled. Let's go.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
So home fermentation of vegetables preserves without the use of any pressure or heat, unlike supermarket versions of the same foods. I spoke to you a little bit about that. You know, it kind of allows the ubiquitous and beneficial lactobacilli present on the surface of all living things. I mean, we have these bacteria on our skin to proliferate, and they create lactic acid, which not only pickles and preserves the vegetables, but also promotes the health of those that consume it in the following ways.
Yeah, in our modern food, we really don't have the time, or the cost is too high to provide you with this really good stuff. So the modern society says, you know, money comes first, so we're just going to kind of skirt the whole thing. We'll put it under pressure. It's kind of like it. We kind of fool you. Yeah, it's pickled, but it's not really the same thing.
So don't be fooled by unhealthy supermarket pickled versions of homemade fermented foods. If you're looking for ready-made fermented foods, go to your natural health grocery store and look for, in the refrigerator section, you should find a selection of, you know, homemade cabbages and so forth that have been fermented and are continuing to do so. The modern foods today are the products of the high heat and pressure, which destroys these nutrients.
Yeah, and unfortunately, in a lot of stores, these real good ones are kind of expensive. So the thing to do is really learn how to do this yourself. It's really easy. It just takes a little bit of time, and the rest of it's done while you're doing other things.
And it provides you with a great food, and you don't have to eat a lot of fermented foods. You know, it's like a condiment alongside your plate. But if you put a little dibble, if you have some sauerkraut or kimchi or something like that, putting a little bit alongside every one of your meals gives you a dose of probiotics that the supplement probiotics that you buy can't even compare. They don't even come close. Where they may be selling them in the millions and billions, and they have a little war over who has the most probiotics in their supplement, and you pay, if you get a good one, you're paying $60 a month for a month's supply. They don't even compare. You could, in the size of your pinky nail, you would get trillions of bacteria from a fermented food.
Yeah, and since we know that it's a good idea to shift over to different types of these probiotics, maybe every 3 months or so, like, you know, to get a different strain in there.
I think it's a real good idea to shake it up a little bit in the different foods that you have.
About every 3 months, you change them up and you get a different one, and then, you know, I think you're better off. I've heard about this medieval medicine that was called the Four Thieves.
Well, the thieves' oil was an essential oil recipe.
Okay.
And for those of you who may not be aware now, this article is about the Four Thieves vinegar.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about that, but I also will share with you the Four Thieves story about the essential oils. But this has a lot to do with the evolution of a medieval medicine. And the bubonic plague wreaked havoc in Europe, as we know.
About 600 years ago.
And peaked in the 1300s, century after century. As late as the 1700s, outbreaks claimed the lives of over half of our population.
Yeah, each time it broke out, it claimed about half.
It had a big,
So, I mean, huge.
it had a big impact on the life of William Shakespeare, and it claimed the lives of some of his siblings, as well as causing his theater to be shut down because of the nasty outbreaks between the 1590s and so forth. And it's commonly considered to be a bite-based infection
from
rats,
the
right?
rats, yeah.
A lesser-known fact is that there were many more victims than those bitten by fleas. It turns out that the bubonic plague was often the first step of a progressive series of illnesses. Two other types were pneumonic and septicemic. So you were getting blood infection as well as respiratory. And the resulting pneumonic plague was also very infectious and allowed person-to-person transmission. But it was very interesting. I've seen these pictures. There's a period of time where there were these bizarre images of physicians that were wearing dark robes, wide-brimmed hats, and masks with long beaks. Well, the long beaks, inside those beaks, they were stuffing herbs.
Just so they wouldn't breathe in directly from the patient.
Right.
So this was the surgeon's mask of yesteryear.
Exactly. It's so funny. They held dried herbs, spices, and essential oils, which the physicians were breathing. And the robe was doused with a similar fragrant concoction. And now scientific evidence is, gathering to support this crazy behavior. But when you see a picture, I wish could Google it, but these physicians looked rather strange, you know. But in France, another interesting aromatic legend developed around a horrid-sounding witch's brew known as Marseille's vinegar, or Four Thieves of Vinegar. A variety of recipes were floating around. One recalled by Scientific American. Well, we'll go over this. We've got a break coming already.
Yeah.
But it included things like dried rosemary, sage, camphor, and garlic cloves, and the vinegar, and it would steep for 12 days. So, you know, herbal healing, using plants as medicine, been around for a while. We'll be right back.
I'll try to find that mask.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Steve Rhodes, host of the Trader's Edge heard daily at TFNN.com and author of Mastering Probability, a daily investment and trading newsletter service that I send out each morning by 8 a.m. My morning newsletter service covers exactly what the markets have been doing since last night's close, providing you with an edge on your trading day ahead. You get actionable trading ideas, including the exact entry, stop, and profit targets. Plus, I'll teach you the patterns and hidden market correlations that will make you a better trader. As a subscriber, you'll gain access to my 90-minute money management workshop, where I'll teach you the secrets that'll save your assets. The bottom line, I've got your back, including a 30-day money-back guarantee. See for yourself the type of analysis I provide each trading day by signing up for Mastering Probability today. With nothing to lose, this is an offer you should not pass on. Mastering Probability can be found under Trading Newsletters on the front page of TFNN.com.
If you're an active trader looking for that extra edge when it comes to trading and investments, then now is a great time to get a 2-week free trial to Tom O'Brien's daily market letter, Market Insights. Tom O'Brien's daily newsletter, Market Insights, comes out every market day at around 9:30 a.m. and provides Tom's daily commentary on the broad market, including the Dow, NASDAQ, and S&P, plus specific trade recommendations. There's even an update published most afternoons to keep you informed about the day's market activity. He'll give you the entry price, price target, and stop price of each stock and option trade. With Market Insights, there's nothing left to guessing. For all the details and to get your 2-week free trial to Market Insights started today, visit TFNN.com.
No matter where you're listening to TFNN programming, you can always access your favorite shows on demand through TFNN.com. TFNN airs live programming every market day from 8 a.m. till 6 p.m. Eastern, and you can view each program by accessing Tiger TV through our homepage. We even have an easy link for all mobile devices, including iPhones, iPads, and Android devices, located in the top right-hand corner of the TFNN homepage. You can use your smartphone to view Tiger TV. But if you don't have a connection that can keep up with streaming live video, then you can simply visit TFNN.mobi in the browser of your smartphone for live streaming audio of all our programs. The mission of TFNN is to educate our audience directly and interactively through our interactive website and call-in talk shows. TFNN is able to teach all levels of investors the technical skills needed to trade in today's marketplace. In order to get the best information possible, TFNN has assembled the most respected financial minds in the country to provide the most current news and comprehensive advice available. TFNN.com, educating investors. Join John Logan as he teaches you trading techniques utilizing the TAS Profile Scanner. The Global Market Pulse, next on TFNN.
And welcome back. And on the telestrator, I've got a picture of that hideous-looking creature, the doctor.
That was the doctor during the bubonic plague.
Yeah.
And the beak-like apparatus is where they stuffed the essential oils and herbs and garlic and so forth, known to keep them safe. So it goes on and on about how the wives' tales or these concoctions used to keep people safe. And primarily it was the thieves, because they were running around stealing the riches of people who fell to the plague. And somehow they were escaping getting the disease. And they were usually coating themselves in the essential oils we see here. They were drinking a vinegar concoction. And they put a lot of the benefits in the garlic. And that many people, many of the doctors and priests who worked with people, if they had garlic in their hands or ate garlic, they did not succumb. So, you know, it's very interesting in how people have been using, you know, all of these nature's medicine to protect themselves from the pestilence.
Well, you know, there's another thing. When you eat the pickles of the jar and then you have all that liquid left, afterwards. And there's things that you can do with it. Often I'll take a swig of it, just a little pickle juice in the morning. There's nothing wrong with that. But you can reuse it. You can throw a bunch of hard-boiled eggs into there and just sit them in the refrigerator and let them brine up.
Oh, that's a great idea. I mean, and I'm imagining using it as a base for salad dressings, too.
Exactly. And you can throw it in some soups. You can use pickle juice as a great meat tenderizer. You can marinate pork chops or steak with it. Really good. Boiled potatoes. Of course, we don't eat much potatoes anymore, but if you were to eat them, this would be a great way to make them a little bit healthier.
I'm going to tell you, I was someplace, had a wonderful recipe that was a Croatian potato salad, and it was based on using vinegar, and it was really delicious. So this would be a great addition.
Yeah, if you have any people that come from Europe, especially Central Europe, and their neighbors of yours, knock on their door and ask them about all these different foods that they've been fermenting and pickling probably for years, and they're probably still doing it too.
And if you make barbecue sauces, use this wonderful pickle resource in other cooking, making store-bought barbecue sauce. I mean, again, we talked about how these store-bought sauces are just fraught with chemicals.
Macaroni and cheese.
Now that's interesting.
Yeah, use a dash of pickle juice. You can use, in place of vinegar in your gazpacho.
Yeah.
If your fish or veggies need a lift, just add a little drizzle over them. Good boy, there's a lot of things. Elevate your hummus.
Add it to your Bloody Mary.
Yeah, that would be a perfect Bloody Mary. Yeah.
Yeah.
Poached fish. If you have a meatloaf recipe, you can use that.
Right. And there's something called Jewish deli bread, since the dough is fortified with a little bit of pickle juice.
Kind of like sourdough, in a sense.
Sourdough. I actually picked up some bread the other day that was called spent grain bread. Sprouted spent grain sourdough bread. So what they did is they used the grain to make beer. They do this at Whole Foods. They make the beer, then they save the grains, reuse them to sour the dough.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah. And of course, the number one thing to use pickle juice for is getting rid of your weeds. Did you know that?
I had no idea.
You can pour them right on your weeds, and I guess it puckers them up so much that they go away.
Well, that's great.
That's pretty good.
Don't use your Monsanto Roundup. Save your pickle juice. So if you have an extra refrigerator, just save it, and then you can go and spray them on your weeds. That's interesting. No, I like that.
The last page on my Health Signals newsletter, I have this, my wife and I watched this the other night. It's called From Neurons to Nirvana, Understanding Psychedelic Medicines. 2013 it was brought out. It's a free one on YouTube. It's a movie. Really talking about marijuana, talking about ayahuasca and mescaline and all these different things and how they were used in the ancient times. And, used for religious services and things like that, but also used to kind of expand your mind and to make you a little bit more mellow and see things that you normally wouldn't see. Of course, we experienced a lot of this in the 60s, at least I did, fooling around a little bit with some mushrooms and having a little bit of acid and smoking marijuana. But, that was the old days. Nowadays, don't do that anymore. But it's interesting to go through this process and maybe learn.
And if you get the
more
newsletter, you've got the link. Watch now to see this
some
great
great
movie.
recipes in there with cannabis too. So enjoy.
Have
See
a
you next
wonderful
time.
day.
Since 1984, Basil Chapman has been using the Chapman Wave methodology to advise traders of his expert market opinion. While originally hand-drawing charts from the late 1970s into the 1980s, Basil noticed that prices under most circumstances virtually always had a certain number of legs to the upside before declining sharply. Later, Basil found that computer software, which included the standard market technical indicators, enhanced the degree of accuracy in calling price turns, as well as market trend calls. Thus was born the Chapman Wave sequence. Using the Chapman Wave methodology along with other indicators, Basil Chapman advises his subscribers of his expert market opinion each market day with his opening call newsletter. Right now, you can get a 2-week free trial to the opening call, Basil's daily trading newsletter, by visiting the front page of TFNN.com. Cancel at any time during that trial and pay absolutely nothing. Get your 2-week free trial to Basil's newsletter, The Opening Call, today by visiting TFNN.com.
You're watching Tiger TV.